What was that first deal? What did that look like? How did you?
Stupid, dumb.
I mean, we all look back at deals and we think, why on earth did we do that one or that one?
The
Because
dumbest
we're all
thing,
learning as we go along.
yeah, dumb as anything. Bought a house in Warsaw, very cheap, 40 or 50,000 pound. Paid for it cash after saving up for like 3 years.
Right.
Thought I was the man. Retiring at 65 years old. I've got my asset as we get taught. And I managed in like 3 years to buy 2 or 3 properties, very cheap
So
ones.
this is just saving.
Savings. I worked my work ethic is outrageous. And then I had a conversation with a doctor, who's a very, very good friend of mine still to this day. And he was like, "What are you doing with these properties?" And he's like, "I said, oh, I'm renting them out, and I've got some money tied up in them. It's my pension. It wasn't a lot of money. It's 120, 130,000, which is a great amount of money in my eyes. To me, it was like, oh my God, this is the world."
But in terms of a reality check, that's way more than most people anyway.
Yeah.
So it's still a
Yeah.
significant achievement even at that.
A huge achievement, but when you're looking at where you're trying to get to, it's not a huge amount of money. At the time, it was the world. But what I didn't realise is that £130,000 that I had tied up in houses could literally be 6 houses, 7 houses, with income coming in from rent and growing, and the buy, refurbish, refinance rent. And this doctor who had a conversation with me, his dad was the first £1 million GP in the Midlands. He lives on Westbourne, is it Westbourne or Westbrook Avenue, next to Botanical Gardens?
Okay, yeah.
And he was like, my dad owns hundreds of houses. I was like, how does he own hundreds of houses? There's not enough money in the world.
It's difficult to comprehend that sometimes when you're not in property. How does somebody own 100 houses? You couldn't save your entire life to even buy a few, never mind 100.
And when he explained it to me, and he was like, 25% deposits, he uses money from family members and he gives them returns and stuff. And then literally, the penny drops.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a long conversation. This was like I want to say like 3 minutes. He's like, explained it. Could you explain it once more?
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh my God, that's how you do it. Yeah. It wasn't overnight. Obviously, there's processes, the steps and everything like that. But yeah, it was I wish I could go back and have people like you and other people on YouTube that I could watch and understand the strategies. And that's why I'm so passionate now about putting it out there, because you need somebody to tell you what works.
Yes.
Otherwise, you just learn what the system teaches you. Buy your own house, get in debt, buy another house, and you're doing okay.
Yes.
But that's not really the reality, is it?
And when we talk about the system, there's a vested interest in people just going to school, college, university, getting into debt, starting life with a massive loan, just paying that off for the next 20 years. Work for what they say, you spend the first 20 years learning, spend the next 40 years earning in order to live off the remaining 10 years of your life, maybe on 40% of what you were earning before.
Never heard
something
that.
Like that.
Yeah, it's exactly it, isn't it?
And what do you think of people that sort of talk about you need to break that system and think outside of the box, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the concept of, don't work for money, make money work for you?
Yeah. Well, it's true. It's how all the rich people in the world work. It's how everything is done. But you've also got to understand that the system they don't want everybody to be that person. They need to have everybody in categories.
Yeah. If everybody was an entrepreneur, the system wouldn't work.
Well, the world would just be a complete shambles, wouldn't it? Let's be completely honest, because not everybody has what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I'm a massive believer in who you surround yourself with is where you're going to go. So if you're sitting with 6 people that go out on a Friday night, get drunk, and then go to work on a Monday morning, you will eventually fall into that trap.
Yeah. That'll be your life.
It is,
because that's the environment you've chosen.
The environment that you're in is what dictates what you're going to do. And you've got a lot of people who says, no, it doesn't dictate me. Well, you're not changing. You're not doing anything different. And it goes back to that other saying as well. If you repeat the same thing day in, day out, you're going to get the same results day in, day out. So until you change your environment and you can have a different view on things, and you are open to other views, and not everybody's view you will agree with, but I think it's really important to listen to other people's views and opinions. Form your own judgment. Don't listen to someone else's judgment on something else. You speak to that person. What do you think of it? And then you need to move forward. But there is a process. You can't just click your fingers overnight and change everything that you've ever done. You have to start surrounding yourself day by day. But the system is the system for a reason, isn't it?
When you get people saying, yeah, but Steve, you know, it's all right to say that, but how do I get out of this situation? How do I break this pattern that I'm in? How do you think?
Well, I think small steps, little tiny steps. And I genuinely believe the first steps to anything you want to do has got to do with education and network. So everyone talks about education, the gurus selling courses and stuff like that. But there's loads of free information out there. You don't have to pay for anything. I put hundreds of YouTube videos out a year. You put hundreds of YouTube. I don't even know what you're on. You're on 20,000 subscribers plus. You've put loads out. It's all free. Just because there's an avenue for them to come and sign up to a course from you or join my network or something, doesn't mean they have to do it. They can watch all the videos and never make contact with any of us. There's books, there's Google. Networking events is the most important thing in the world, because whether you're a comfortable person or a shy person and you're a confident person, you're in an environment where you're with like-minded people.
Yes.
So that's the first steps.
Yeah.
And like you said, people say, oh, it's really easy for you to say, but I don't know what to do. Just attend a few free networking events. Again, you don't even have to do the paid ones. Just do the free ones.
And even if you're paying most of them a few pounds to go along. And I remember when I first started 15, 16 years ago, that sort of time, there was very little on the internet. There was a few forums, and information was the challenge. The biggest challenge at that time was, I don't know how. I think now it's almost a case of there's too much information.
I don't know
We're
where.
overwhelmed with information, and people don't know what bit to implement and how to get started.
Yeah. There's so many strategies.
Yes.
The property world has so many strategies, but it's amazing because it has so many strategies for people who have no money.
Yes.
For people who have no knowledge, and then for people who have a certain amount of money, for people who are looking to get into it full time. If you understand the strategies in property and you have a certain work ethic as well, anybody can get into anybody. Like it literally is open to every single person at some level. And I think the more that we keep, like the seminars I do, the YouTube content, the more that you keep showing it, the more people will be like, okay, that's the one I can see me at this precise moment, or okay, that's the one I'm going to start with, that strategy, and then I'm going to implement that for 2 or 3 years. That will lead me into the one that I think will help me. So yeah, I think people just need to, when you get into property, I think you need to have a goal. You need to have a strategy, but you need to have very, very, very small steps.
Yes.
I think that's the key to this, taking one step at a time.